for the infusion of positive energy into the lives of single Latter-day Saints everywhere. This is Joy in the Journey Radio.
And welcome back, peeps. Another wonderful, splendiferous, joyous episode of Joy in the Journey Radio. I am Lance, your host for Joy in the Journey Radio. Today is the 29th of December, 2021, and this is episode number 209, 1% Better. With the new year almost upon us, it's time once again for making new goals most of us will abandon within the first 2 weeks of January. I'm not that fickle, but I do have a persistent problem of not reaching all my goals. In fact, I typically achieve no more than a handful of them. In considering how I can adjust my approach so next year will be different, I'm reminded of the wonderful conference address by Elder Michael A. Dunn entitled 1% Better. Elder Dunn promotes a focus on daily small improvements on the order of just 1%. If you can improve by just 1% every day for a year, in the end, you'll be 37 times better. Focusing on incremental 1% improvements instead of some grand transformation intrigues me. I'm led to question not just what goals are best for me, but the very process by which I determine those goals. After all, the process of improvement must be doable to mean anything. Focusing on being 1% better is not just doable, but far more enriching than the alternative. Elder Dunn began his remarks by sharing the story of British cycling. For about a century, British bicycle racing teams won little distinction. Their performance was so poor, some manufacturers refused to sell bicycles to them, for fear the association would irreparably tarnish them. But that changed in 2003 when a new coach, Sir Dave Brailsford, was hired. Sir Brailsford rejected using the latest trends and technology, preferring, as he put it, the aggregation of marginal gains. British cyclists began looking at everything they did and how they could improve by just 1%. The results were amazing. As Elder Dunn described,
now, Brailsford's small gains began with the obvious, such as equipment, kit fabrics, and training patterns. But his team didn't stop there. They continued to find 1% improvements in overlooked and unexpected areas, such as nutrition and even maintenance nuances. Over time, these myriad of micro betterments aggregated into stunning results, which came faster than anyone could have imagined. Truly, they were on to the eternal principle of line upon line, precept upon precept, here a little and there a little.
He further explained,
now, as to repentance's prerequisite of faith, the scriptures are very clear. All that's initially required is a mere particle of faith. And if we can muster this mustard seed mentality, we too can expect unexpected and exceptional improvements in our lives. But remember, just as we would not attempt to go from being Attila the Hun to Mother Teresa overnight, so too should we reorient our patterns of improvement incrementally. Even if the changes needed in your life are wholesale, begin at a small scale. That's especially true if you're feeling overwhelmed or discouraged.
After applying this approach over the past 2 decades, British cycling has amassed an impressive array of awards, including 6 Tour de France victories and more Olympic medals across all cycling disciplines than any other country. This approach and these results together get me thinking, what if I've been going about this New Year's resolution business all wrong? What if a shift in my focus towards small 1% improvements is what I'm really missing? I began by adjusting my goal creation process. Normally, I start by reviewing my mission statement, which details my life purpose, and then my vision statement, which describes the characteristics of my ideal best self, to see if they still resonate with me. If they don't, I make changes until they do. I then ask myself, what portion of the gap between where I want to be and where I am will I work on this year? And I make goals to address that portion. But I see now this approach invariably leads to biting off more than I can chew. I always justified it thinking it's better to aim for the stars and miss than aim for a pile of dung and hit target. But by attempting too big a change, I set myself up for failure and disappointment. This year, I'm trying a new approach. Keeping the mission statement review, I adjusted the vision statement review to describe what my best self looks like at the end of the year rather than the end of my life. I then scored myself on how well I meet that end of year standard today. Of course, that comparison finds me wanting, but that's okay. Elder Dunn taught that.
This process is not always accomplished in a linear fashion. Even among the most determined, there may be setbacks. Now, having experienced the frustration of this in my own life, I can tell you that it can sometimes feel like 1% forward and then 2% back. Yet if we remain undaunted in our determination to consistently eke out those 1% gains, He who has carried our sorrows will surely carry us. Now, obviously, if we're involved in grievous sins, the Lord is clear and unequivocal. We need to stop, get help from our bishop, and turn away from such practices immediately. But as Elder David A. Bednar enjoined, small, steady, incremental spiritual improvements are the steps the Lord would have us take. Preparing to walk guiltless before God is one of the primary purposes of mortality and the pursuit of a lifetime. It does not result from sporadic spurts of intense spiritual activity.
Stephen Covey declared, the main thing is to keep the main thing the main thing. For achieving goals, the main thing is making sure to get just 1% better every day. I tied each goal to a descriptive characteristic from my end-of-year vision statement to maintain alignment with my direction. Now the question each day is, what will I do today to get just 1% better in each of my goals? I plan on evaluating my progress after each week and month to assess progress and adjust where needed. Focusing on improvements of just 1% each day seems like my missing essential element. I've already felt greatly encouraged applying this new approach for creating my goals, so we'll see what develops and what I actually achieve. If making New Year's resolutions you're confident you won't keep discourages you, or if the failures of previous attempts to achieve and become your best self dismay you, I invite you to consider focusing not on some grand transformation, but rather on the 1% change you can make today. When you get 1% better each and every day, it won't be long before you find yourself making remarkable progress, and that will bring you more joy in your journey. Back in a moment.
Joy in the Journey Radio.
And welcome back, Peeps, from another wonderful break on another wonderful episode of Joy in the Journey Radio. You are here in the JJ Zone. We are broadcasting today with me, your host. My name is Lance, host of Joy in the Journey Radio. Today, broadcasting about 1% better. I really think this talk by Elder Dunn, I think is going to be one of the, how should I say this? It's like, there are those classic general conference addresses that are delivered by the general authorities that are really well known, and usually it's like, some like the prophet or, one of his counselors or a member of the Quorum of the 12, or, if there's a member of the 70 who's exceptionally well known. I mean, you might throw that individual in the mix. This, I think, who's Elder Dunn? I mean, no offense, but it's like this guy isn't known like, the members of the group I just described are known. And yeah, I think this is going to be just one of the really classic General's Conference addresses of all time. I really do, because there's this really, how should I put this? There's a really, we see it mostly in Western culture, right? I mean, this constant idea of continuous improvement. Not to say that it doesn't exist in Eastern culture. It takes on a different role. They have a different perspective with the value of continuous improvement than the West does. So there's that to consider. But I think when it comes down to it, it's like when you look at like the gospel of Jesus Christ, the restored gospel of Jesus Christ teaches us that this idea of continuous improvement mirrors the truth of eternal progression, right? That, we're here in this world, this existence, as part of a larger plan, a larger journey that we're all taking. And it's this larger journey that encompasses in continuous improvement, right? We're progressing to become something more than what we were when we started the journey. And, like I was saying in the monologue, Elder Dunn really hits this nail on the head. He talks about these incremental changes. And I thought that this would be really appropriate for us to get to with the new year upon us and everybody, well, I should say everybody. Some people are so disillusioned they don't make New Year's resolutions, right? If you're one of those people, I hope you listen to this. I hope you give an ear or read Elder Dunn's address and reconsider. Because if you're not, working on goals, then you're just going to be kind of rolling out wherever you go, wherever the waves will take me, I'll flow. That's really what it's going to be. You'll go wherever the waves of life take you with no real sense of direction. And that's not a very exciting life. Well, I take that back, depending on where they blow, maybe you get a little bit more excitement than you want, right? But seriously, that's not, generally speaking, that's not the recipe for your best life. You want to live your best life, you need to take action, show leadership, set the course, direction. I'm going to go this way, or I'm going to go this way, or whichever way it is, right? It's like you're going to decide, I'm going in this way. This is where I want to go. And you march off in that direction. That's the attitude that's going to lead to your best life. Well, that implies that there's some changes that you need to make in yourself. Some changes in this, eternal journey that we're on to improve ourselves and become something that we were not before. So this whole idea of 1% better, it just really intrigues me because as I step back and just really consider how I've approached this whole making goals at the start of the year business, the whole New Year's resolution deal, right? So I look at that and then I look at the results I've been getting year over year, and I'm noticing some patterns. And one of the biggest patterns I see is I'm a dreamer, right? I'm a big dreamer. I love dreaming big. I love thinking big. And I just want to just go all at it. I want to say, look, this year I'm going to tackle all of these major, grand, humongous transformations. And yet, year after year, I get goose egg, right? It's like I don't get anywhere near. I don't get anywhere close to, the vision that I dreamed of. And stepping back and listen, to Elder Dunn's talk and thinking about what he had to offer really got me thinking about my approach. It's like I was saying in the monologue, I'm not just questioning what are the goals I should be making for the next year. I'm actually questioning the process by which I determine what those goals should be. I'm just it's one of those things that's really just sort of come to me and helped me to understand that I haven't had the success that I really wanted with the whole yearly goal business because I've been biting off more than I can chew, being a big dreamer. And so I look at this, like I said, I look at this description of my ideal best self, the one that actually encompasses everything that I hope to become in this lifetime. And I'm taking that end product there and I'm looking at it and thinking, wow, look at all these changes. And I'm just going to tackle them all. And being a big dreamer, I just go after it. And I end up biting off a whole lot more than I can chew. And looking at what Elder Dunn had to say, I had to step back and ask myself, you know what? Maybe you're going about this the wrong way. Maybe you're not succeeding because you need to change your approach because you really are biting off more than you can chew. And maybe the way to go about this is that you can still be a big dreamer, right? So you still keep that vision statement that describes your ideal best self of how you really want to end up at the end of your life and what you want to be describing, like the qualities and the characteristics and all that at the end of your life. But you know what? Just kind of focus it down and come back and say, okay, wait a minute. Maybe I don't really want to just bite off all of that in a year. And I don't even want to try to bite off as much as I can out of that in a year. Maybe with this whole idea of 1% daily incremental improvements, maybe what I really want to do is just come to a place where I can like, just say, okay, where do I want to be at the end of the year, and use that as my standard for making goals instead of, harking off into the future to this grand vision of, my ideal best self and using that as a standard. How about we just say, where do you really want to be at the end of 1 year? What part of this grand transformation do you want to have accomplished? Not the whole thing, just what part of it do you want to have accomplished at the end of 1 year? And then let's set a goal to work on that, to move you in that direction. Because that's what the goal is. The goal is about setting the direction. The goal is about setting the direction. And so when you have that direction set, so now it's like, okay, I know which direction I need to move in. And you kind of, from that, kind of falls out the activities the action that needs to happen in order to get the result that you want. As we talked about so many times on this program, results come from one thing and one thing only, and that is action. So you get the action that comes out of the goals, but then, just focus on, just do 1%. If I can just do 1%, that's where the bar is. Every day, 1% higher than what it was yesterday. Just do a little bit more today than I did yesterday. Just make myself a little bit better today than I did yesterday. This 1% incremental improvement. And, the transformation that you can have with this can be absolutely phenomenal. Okay. I actually did the math on this. If you're not watching the video presentation inside the JJ Zone, become one of our JJ Zoners. Join our membership group and get access to that. I think I will throw this up on YouTube. This may be the last full episode. This is definitely the last full episode for the year, and I'm going to throw this up on YouTube just because I think this is so apropos to so many of us singles. But I'm thinking, for the next year, off into 2022, I'm going to start going back to just giving you guys clips. And if you want to get the full program, then yeah, you need to actually become a JJ Zoner. So join our membership group, and you can get that. But watch the video for this episode. Okay, if you're listening on our radio network, watch, or the audio podcast that we distribute out. Go. Get the video, watch the video, okay? Because I actually did the math and I made charts. And I'm going to talk about the charts and try to give you something if audio only is what you got, but you really need to see the charts to get the full effect. We're coming to a break now, so let's go ahead and take that break. And when we come back from the break, I want to share with you these charts, and I want to share with you some more of Elder Dunn's talk and tie some of this stuff in together. So really get this vision that I got as I stepped back and just kind of looked at this whole idea, this whole approach. I think is just absolutely brilliant, and it ties in so well with the restored gospel of Jesus Christ. It's just amazing. So stay tuned, and we will get into all of that, digging into the goodness of the chili after the break. See you there on the other side. Joy in the Journey Radio. And welcome back, peeps. Another wonderful, splendiferous, joyous episode of Joy in the Journey Radio. We are back from that break today in the JJ Zone talking about 1% better, being just 1% better every day. Yeah, with New Year's around the corner and the time when we all make new goals and get the fresh start and say, yeah, I'm going to make these improvements and I'm going to be better and I'm going to go after it and I'm going to change myself and I'm just going to be better. We look for these grand transformations in ourselves. And then what happens? Well, the vast majority of people peter out in like the second week of January. They've lost all their fuel, and then they're just back to normal. Now, there are things that you can do, like setting up your environment, considering your identity, um, lots of things you can do to set yourself up for success. What I want to focus on today is this conference talk from Elder Dunn entitled 1% Better, because this idea of just making these small incremental improvements and looking at that approach to achieving our goals, it just kind of made me wonder. It's like, is this what I've been missing? Is this why I haven't been achieving what I really want to achieve? And I think there's an essential element at play here when it comes to setting and achieving any goal, not just the New Year's resolutions that we make at the start of the year. I think achieving any goal requires this essential attention on just being 1% better today than I was yesterday. I'm just continuing to make that consistent, payment into the account, so to speak. And eventually the account grows. Now, it takes a while to get there. But once you build up the momentum, you can fly. You can fly, children. And let me just show you what I'm talking about, okay? Let's flip over. Here we've got a chart that talks about that. I actually did the math, right? So here's the first little one. It's like, how long will it take you to get twice as good today as you are today? So that's 100% improvement. So you can see here on the chart how you get that slow incremental climb. Starts out slow in January, starts to build in February. And, once you get through February, though, things really start to move. And, the day, which you can't see on the chart, but I actually did the math, it's the 11th of March, you'll have 100% improvement. You reach 100% improvement on the 11th of March, which is 2x factors. So if you want to improve yourself and be twice as good, okay, and you start on January 1, and every day from January 1 forward, you're like 1% better than you were before, then, by the time you reach the 11th of March, you'll be already twice as good as you were at the start of the year. That's amazing. Now, let's take this out further, right? Because let's flip this over again. Let me show you this chart. This is for the whole year, right? So now instead of looking at like percent, like how much percent better are you than you were, at the start of the year? Because now the numbers just get big, right? Because now once you're twice as big, now you start having a little bit of momentum. So now the numbers keep growing, right? So by the end of the second quarter, the end of June, you're halfway through the year and you're 6 times better than you were at the start of the year. Again, making those 1% improvements day in and day out, every single day, right? 10x, any of you out there who are familiar with the work of Grant Cardone, his popular book, The 10x Rule, you got to 10x everything. How long was it going to take for you to 10x you with this 1% better method? Well, you'll reach 10x improvement on the 20th of August. And, so then by the end of, third quarter, which is the end of September, you're at 15x. And by then you've got total momentum, right? I mean, you think about that. You go from 10x in late August to 15x at the end of September. So now you've got some serious momentum built up, right? So now you really start continuing it out in fourth quarter. You're just flying. And, you get to the end of the year on the 31st of December, you are 37.8 times better than you were at the start of the year. Almost 38% better. That's amazing. And all you did was make these small little micro improvements. You made that your priority. Every day it's going to be like, okay, so what 1% improvement am I going to make towards this goal? That's why I'm saying you got to set the goal first and get that direction established. And then once you've got the direction established, you know what you need to do. You got your, I'm marching in this direction. Okay, how can I get just a little bit closer today? What am I going to do today to get 1% better than I was yesterday? The small little micro improvement, and that's the priority. And when you make that your priority, you can go gangbusters with so much. I really do think that this is what, I've been missing all these years, and what a lot of us have really been missing with these New Year's resolutions and just with, goal achievement in general. That we get distracted. We don't focus on making that 1% improvement a priority. I really think that's the key. Consistent diligence, persistence, patience. If we go back to the chart, look, the beginning of the year, it's almost flat. It takes a while to build up momentum, but once you get the momentum built up, you can fly, and and that just adds to it, right? And so you're going to get more motivation to go farther and faster and further and higher, and it just builds on itself. But it's getting out of that rut that all of us are in at the beginning. That's the hardest part. But once you get the momentum built, you can see you just go after it. You just go after it. I want to go back to something that Elder Dunn said in his talk. I did not share in the monologue. So I could try to summarize this, but I think it's just better just to let him go. So check this out.
Now, his approach aligns well with the Lord's, who taught us the criticalness of the 1%, even at the expense of the 99%. Now, of course, he was teaching the gospel imperative to seek out individuals in need. But what if we applied that same principle to the very sweet and savory second principle of the gospel, repentance? Rather than being stymied by the churn and dramatic swings between sin and repentance, what if our approach was to narrow our focus even as we broadened it? Instead of trying to perfect everything, what if we tackled just one thing? For example, what if in your new wide-angle awareness you discover you'd neglected a daily reading of the Book of Mormon? Well, instead of desperately plowing through all 536 pages in one night, what if we committed instead to read just 1% of it? That's just 5 pages a day, or another manageable goal for your situation. Could aggregating small but steady marginal gains in our lives finally be the way to victory over even the most pesky of our personal shortcomings? Can this bite-sized approach to tackling our blemishes really work?
I love that. Doesn't that just get you thinking? And then this example that he used with the British cycling team and the amazing transformation that this approach made to British cycling. And to think about how this could apply to everything and anything in our lives. And then bring this back again to what we've been saying all along in this program with how can we as Latter-day Saint singles extract more joy in our journey? I think that we could use this to improve ourselves and have more joy in our dating journey. I really do. Because if you go back to fundamentals, right? Go back to the fundamentals that we talk about all the time, both on this program and on the World of Ted. By the way, if you're not tuned into World of Ted, get tuned in. It's a great program. So, the fundamental principle is there are stages to the dating journey, right? So in order to advance through each of the different stages, you've got to have the agreement connected with each stage. You don't have the agreement, you don't progress. How do you secure an agreement? By being agreeable enough. So if you're not securing the agreement you need, you don't progress. How do you fix that then? Well, the best fix, there are different options for you, but the best fix, I believe, is make yourself more agreeable. Improve upon yourself. And what if we went about improving upon ourselves to make ourselves more agreeable to a potential dating partner with this 1% method? What transformation could we affect in our dating journey and in our lives? I'm telling you, I think this is really key to a whole lot of things that we have going on in our lives. If we were just take this attitude of 1% improvement, I think this could be just totally gangbuster, brilliant, game changing, life changing. Yes. We're past due for a break. Let's go ahead and take that break now. When we come back, I have some final thoughts to share with you as we wrap up the program. See you there on the other side.
Joy in the Journey Radio.
And welcome back, peeps. Welcome back to Joy in the Journey Radio here in the JJ Zone. Today we are broadcasting about Elder Dunn's recent conference address entitled 1% Better. And, as I was saying in the program today, I really do think that this is the key element that a lot of us are missing in our lives. We're looking for changes that are beneficial. We want to improve ourselves and our situation. It really just comes down to changing yourself. Because really, if you want your life to change, you have to change. You're not going to get a change in your life until you change. That's the thing we don't want, right? Because here's the thing. We all want our lives to change without us changing. We want these external factors to just come in. We want the stars to align. And we want everything to just work out for us without us having to do any sort of change. Because then this is why we don't want to make changes in us. Because we inherently know that requires work. And work that's not easy. Work that's actually hard. And we're not set up for wanting hard work. We're not set up that way, right? We're biologically hardwired to establish a status quo and enact life through habits that we have, to play it out through the habit. So this idea of making changes is just, we don't do it because that disrupts the equilibrium we have established, right? That means we have to get rid of the habits that we have because we're biologically programmed, hardwired to have this need for habit. We have to have a habit. We can't live without a habit. So, of course, the process of making changes in you is really the process of making changes in the way you think, in the habits that control your assumptions, the habits that control your expectations, the habits that control your attitude, the habits that control your self-talk, which is that determines 95% of your emotions and how you feel. It's all about habits that you have up here. Once you get that straight, I've said this time and time again on the program, once you get that straight, everything just becomes so much easier. And this, I think, is a key element to just taking that attitude that we've had all along here on Join the Journey Radio up to the next level of performance. Because these small incremental improvements, as we've shown, I've done the math, I showed you before the break. If you weren't watching the video, get the video, you'll see it's right there on the video. The graph isn't, well, I don't want to say it's like an amazing graph. It's like most graphs aren't really that amazing. But this one is because, of what it actually means with just these small incremental improvements day in and day out. So, yeah, this is definitely going to inform not just the goals I've set for myself for 2022, but also for the next steps that Join the Journey Radio takes in its evolution. This is going to provide so much benefit, not just for me personally. What if we apply this to the personal ministry each of us have? And we actually take this and say, okay, I want to improve the contribution that I'm making to others. And if you apply, think about this. If you just make 1% improvement on the contribution you're giving to the world and make 1%, improvement every single day, by the end of a year, your contribution will be 37, almost 38 times better than it was when you started that year. That's amazing. How much good can we give? How much light can we bring to the world if we take this 1% better mentality and apply it to the contribution we have to offer to the world? What would that mean for like devoted discipleship? If we take this 1% better method and we applied it to our discipleship of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. And after a year, we are 37 times the devoted disciple we were a year prior. This is just so brilliant when you start applying this to everything in life. You really want your best life. I really think this is the key. I really think this is just elemental. It's foundational. It's key. You're not going to get your best life if you're not consistently making these improvements day in and day out. And 1% is entirely doable, no matter where you are. 1% is entirely doable. So let's get on this bandwagon. Let's get on the 1% bandwagon. And I'm definitely going to be, adding this to the theme of principles that we talk about here on Join the Journey Radio. And it's going to make, there's going to be some changes for 2022 and beyond to Join the Journey Radio because of this 1% principle. So I hope all of you, found something useful from what I presented to you today. We are out of time, unfortunately, for Join the Journey Radio. Thank you, everyone, for listening, watching, however you're getting this program. And, again, I hope that I was able to offer you something beneficial. I hope I was able to offer you something that helps you, that gets you thinking about things in a new way. And, if I did, then you can pay me back by paying it forward. Find somebody else to help. I've helped you, so now you help somebody else. And, if you really want to help me, and you're watching this on YouTube, come on, hit the like button, subscribe, ring the bell, all that good stuff. Help me with the algorithms, but beyond that, find somebody in your sphere of influence that you can help. 1% better. Get 1% better at the help you're offering other people. Pay it forward. And let's bring goodness and light into this world like this world has never seen. And don't forget, come back next week for another exciting episode of Join the Journey Radio. So until next time, this is your host reminding you, there is joy to be had all along our journey. So take that joy and journey on.